All right, let's move on to talking about making music.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a big reason why a lot of people are in this room.
Yeah.
First question, Oliver Francis. Is Oliver in the room? All right. We have got this. How long did it take you to find your sound?
I don't even know what my sound is, to be honest. Just years of experimenting and stuff. I like sine waves. That's probably most of my sound design. That's about it.
Now we did ask this before, and it was a little bit of a tricky question for you, but we might be able to get it now. Go-to production techniques or tips that you can share with people in this room about like how you approach making music.
I keep everything really tight. Like when I choose my kicks and my snares, I make sure they do the job and there's no extra like flabby bits. Do you get what I mean?
Efficient music making.
Yeah, transient shaping. I like doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how I get things nice and snappy. The mid-side field, like make sure there's some like things going on in each ear, like that.
I think a good thing as well is that you mentioned about sound design being something you're not really that strong with, and something that it's always been a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
But reaching out to people who you know, who can point you in the right direction. Like I suppose that's probably quite a useful thing, is to know where like I'm gonna reach out to someone who can help.
Yeah, if I like a sound, I'll like send it to like T-Lex or SMG or Formula. I'll be like, yeah, how do you make this sound? They'll tell me like the basics of how to do it, and then I'll try and emulate it. Like going on Ableton or whatever DAW you're on is like going to the gym. Like you don't always have to make tunes. Like you can just go and work out stuff on it and see where you end up. Like make crazy sounds and make drums as well. Sometimes I just make drums.
Yeah, I think that's important. Not every session has to come out with a finished track.
No, you don't. No, because like a few of those sessions down the road, you already have some drums, you already have some basses, and then you kind of put it all together.
How good are you at keeping that all organised?
I'm not organised. Like my file management is horrible. And I don't back anything up. So if I ever lost my laptop, that's it.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned from that for everyone.
Back up your stuff.
So far, so good though. No,
not yet. A few like corrupted Ableton files and stuff, but
nothing before a set or anything like that, where it's just.
I have actually been on record bots before, and everything's deleted off it, and that was horrible. Yeah.
Oh jeez, we won't get into that. I don't want to bring up any trauma. Now this was a question asked by loads of people.
Yeah.
And it was around your mixing and your mastering process.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That's a good question.
So let's dig into that. How do you go about? Let's talk mixing first, and then we'll move on to the mastering.
I just mix as I go, and then I just put a clipper on it, and then make sure it's like -5 LUFS, and then it'll sound good in a club.
More of that efficient.
Yeah, I literally do it all as I go. Just like make sure the bass is all good, like the sub, all the mid things are all good, and like the white noise and stuff. Everything has its place, and usually I don't really have to tweak it much.
And how about mastering?
Well, when it comes to getting stuff released, like through Hospital, we use a guy called Newtone, and he does like the most insane masters. But usually if I want something just quick to play out, I'll just make sure it's -5 LUFS, and then it will sound decent. Yeah.
Nice and simple. Cool. Before I move on to any more questions about making music, anything people want to chime in with? Anything else?
When you run individual channels where you clip them, do you soft clip or hard clip?
Hard clip. Newfangled Saturate I use. Okay. I think that's hard clipping, I don't know. Yeah? Yeah, hard clipping. So. Yeah.
Nice. I want to quickly divert. It's still about making music, but we were talking earlier about how many countries you've played in this year, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty relentless, like just seeing day after day after day.
Yeah.
How do you kind of manage your time where you are traveling the world, you're DJing, sometimes you're doing sets in different countries on consecutive nights, but then you're thinking, well, I haven't made any music. Like, how are you managing your time amongst it? I know there's quiet periods in the year, but you're going to come buzzing off a set, and then there might be some creativity you want to take
Yeah,
control of.
I'd get my headphones on the plane, just do stuff like as and when. If I've got like a few days in a hotel, maybe go on Ableton, but mostly I do make stuff when I'm at home, because when you're traveling, you get really tired. And my brain doesn't work when I'm tired. I can just about play a set.
Do you kind of make stuff like almost have a period where you're like, I want to try and come out with this, where I've got X amount of tunes that will be what I'm releasing this year, so that when I'm touring, I can still have a regular output? Or is it a bit more as and when creativity strikes, I'm making that music?
Yeah, it's more where creativity strikes, but Hospital usually have a plan for me, and then we'll stick to that plan. Like this year, it was like 3 or 4 singles. I was like, cool. But then next year, it's changing a little bit, and then we're going to do a club-focused EP with drop 2 singles from it before that. Then I've got a 140 tune coming out on Bass Rush, and then also a Souped Up EP. And Souped Up's like way more heavier. That's like me testing my skills and my sound design skills, and if I can do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With that kind of schedule of things that Hospital are setting out for you, do they have like hard deadlines to them, or are they? And if so, is that kind of counter to like making music, or does it help you actually finish stuff?
They do have hard deadlines, but I'm so driven in my head that I will get it done 2 months before that deadline. Like, I want to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful as well.
Yeah, and also there's nothing wrong with accepting help from your mates. Like my missus Opadan, who's a garage producer, and like if I'm struggling with a track, I'll go, what could I do to improve this? She'll show me, and then sometimes she'll delete what she showed me and say, right, go and do it now. So I'm constantly learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good tactic. It feels cruel though to feel like, yeah, there we go, that's made it amazing. Now do it yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you pay attention.
It's a great way to learn.
Do you kind of like find that it's really helpful to get input from people producing outside of the genre you are as well when you hit those spots?
So helpful. Like Izzy's really good at like musicality of songs and like what they make you feel and stuff. But then if you're a drum and bass producer, it's literally making things slap. So I take quite a lot of the musicality of what Izzy has taught me, and then try and make things sound heavy.
Nice. I know this probably goes against like that more you make as creativity hits, but how often do you produce a finished track?
Oh, a good track that would come out once every 2 months, maybe once a month, maybe. I don't make a lot of tracks because I put a lot of thought into the tracks that I make, and that like the little ear candies that would set that out to sound different from everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a little bit longer.
Well, that kind of answers another, because one person asked like where you stood on quantity versus quality.
Quality, always.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many tunes you make. If they're rubbish, then
I mean,
no point.
It's obvious, but I think sometimes it can, especially with social media and stuff, and how it's like, oh, such and such has released yet another thing.
Yeah.
It can feel like, do I need to be putting out more?
It's so important in drum and bass to have good, what's the word? Continuism. What?
Consistency?
Consistency, that's it. It's so important to have consistency. If every single one of your releases is good, then you will get to where you want to be. And it might take a few years. I think someone told me once that if you're working on a craft, it would take you 10 years of that craft to get to where you want to be. And I believe in that.
We were saying just before we came in about the difference between the world you're working in drum and bass, and the saturation of people.
Yeah, it's very saturated, drum and bass.
And I guess that leads into that quality again. I mean, from your personal experience, like how has, despite the fact that you have achieved so much in such a short amount of time, can you talk a bit about that saturation, and navigating it and trying to work with it?
I think it does help as well because I'm a woman, and not as many women make music or drum and bass, and that linked with me doing it quite well, I think, has given me a step up. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, just like in terms of your experience of other artists and stuff, and like, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. You've said about how you can wake up mornings and compare yourself on social media. Like, do you try and remember, like, yeah, there's a lot of them out there, but I'm doing this the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm making sure that what I'm putting out is...
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, you could jump on the trends that are happening on social media and get a decent size off it, but then when that trend finishes, you will forever be known for that trend. Whereas if you just stick to what you love, it might not be in trend at that point, but it will come around.
Yeah. With the things, those like the ear candy that you're talking about, those things that people really like, oh, that sounds amazing, that I've not heard that before. Where are you, what kind of like pools of inspiration are you reaching for when you're kind of experimenting to build those moments up?
I listen to like a lot of like Troy Boy. Do you know Troy Boy?
I don't know Troy Boy. Anyone
He's hard. He's good.
Someone?
Yeah.
It's like is it trap?
Yeah, it's like trap, but like cool trap.
Yeah.
Sorry. Who else do I listen to? I don't listen to a lot of drum and bass, I can't lie. I listen to like Parsaloo. Really like Parsaloo.
I find this quite interesting, as well. Like, people in the room who make your genres of music and yourself, how many of you actively listen to the genre that you make? Okay,
lot, yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because I often hear it with like interviews of artists that I like. They're like, oh, I don't ever listen to the genre that I make because I don't want it to
sound like anyone else.
Yeah. But no, that's just really interesting. That I feel like there's a nice balance. Because
I love dancehall as well. That's a massive one. And 140 as well. Love 140.
Yes. You're talking about release schedules.
Yeah.
How long beforehand will either a label approach you to do a release, or you'll have that final master sent over?
It's usually like maybe about 2 months before it comes out, the final master, or maybe 2 or 3. It's also important to have not too many releases as well, because you leave people wanting more instead of having a bigger output where people are a bit sick of loads of stuff coming out. Less is more in that way, yeah.
Do you think less is more even when you're, because it feels like kind of leaving it when you're really quite a smaller artist, kind of 2 or 3 months, it feels like if I notice kind of an uptick in followers when I release something, it's quite appealing to just keep doing that.
Yeah, I think every 6 weeks I think is a healthy amount.
Okay.
If you're like on your way up,
Yeah.
I think. Like whether it's like something on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Or something on Spotify, I think 6 weeks is a healthy amount.
Nice.
Yeah. Hi.
Building on that, do you think sort of when you're first starting out, releasing an EP is a bad idea?
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do bigger releases still.
Yeah. EPs are good. EPs are still good, especially if all 4 tracks are really solid, and someone will buy all 4 and then mix them all. And then if you're doing something vocal based, maybe just do a single, because then that can be pitched on Spotify into playlists and stuff like that. Because if you release an EP, only one of those tracks from the EP can be pitched. Yeah. So, yeah, you can't pitch all 4 of them.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do you keep like music like backlogged?
What do you mean?
Like, do you like keep content like backlogged for a certain amount of time, so you've always got something like?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like, so say if I've got a track coming out. So I've got a track coming out on Monster Cat in January. I haven't posted any of those clips from me playing that tune yet. I'm like holding them back so I can have a proper plan of like maybe weekly reel posting of that tune and stuff like that, rather than staggering it out, because then people forget about it. Does that answer your question? Yeah.